And today is Monday, March 20th, for our select board meeting. And as is customary, we honor America by standing and pledging allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right, first, zoning board. So tonight, for the folks that are watching, we have a number of appointments. Board of Selectmen appointments that we have every year, and we also have appointments by the town administrator. So we're going to first start off with a quick introduction. Liz, we're going to start with zoning. Great, if you could join us.
Good to see you all.
Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming in. So you're all set here? All right, good. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you volunteering your time and coming in here and volunteering for the zoning board. I think everyone here pretty much knows you, but if you would mind just giving us a quick introduction again and a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I've been a resident for about 10 years now. Wow, that's a long time. Previously been on the planning board. I most recently served on the Hartford Ave rezoning subcommittee. I was on the master plan implementation committee a few years ago, and I volunteered for the BSA back when my daughter played soccer very briefly. But my expertise is in commercial real estate. I'm research director for a commercial brokerage firm that works in the New England market, and I focus also on the biotech and life science space specifically.
Board, any questions from the board?
I would like to say thank you so much, Liz and her husband always around town and is helping out in as any way as possible. Greatly appreciated for that.
Oh yeah, we had fun on the soccer board for sure.
Any further questions for Liz from the board?
I think of a more qualified person.
You.
I got to work with Liz on the master plan. I got to know her on planning board, and I just do not think there would be a better person that we could have out there to be on the zoning board of appeals.
Well, I concur completely. So Liz and I had a brief conversation. I was really pleased to have that, I'd say 30 seconds on the phone. And this is for the permanent position. And are we going to make a motion to, or we're going to wait?
I thought we were waiting.
I think we'll wait.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to wait till the next meeting. Yeah, we have one other interview that came in. So we will vote on it the first meeting in April. Okay.
Perfect.
Any questions?
No, I think I got it. All right, thank you all.
Thanks,
Thanks, Liz.
All right, next on our list, Conservation Commission interview with Stephen Cole. Stephen, come on up, please. Good evening. Good evening, Stephen. Thank you very much. And just for full disclosure to the board, Steve and I have known each other for many, many years. He's a neighbor behind. His mom used to live next door to me. I've been kind of chasing Stephen down for a few years now to get a little bit more involved because I know his expertise in construction and other areas. I thought he'd be a great addition to either zoning or conservation. I first approached him for conservation several years ago. So now that his life's a little simpler, kids are in college, things that nature, has a little bit more free time. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone. Okay, Steve, if you wouldn't mind just giving us your background, the rest of the board, so they can get to know you.
Certainly.
I appreciate it.
First of all, thank you for having me. 21-year resident in Bellingham. Sahan and I coached on BSA for many years. I was the vice president for about 8 years on BSA. I've served on several of the school committee subcommittees, probably about 10 or so years ago, in principal select and superintendent select, and 3 rounds of budget review. I have been in chief estimator for electrical construction, large commercial construction, where I've been since sophomore year in high school. If you run 93 at all, the 780 Morrissey Boulevard, 219 units, smack right up against the rail. That's one of our projects. That ties parcel K and Seaport, which is the Hyatt and the residence. That was one of our projects. So that's the kind of work that I'm familiar with.
Any questions from the board?
I have one.
Sure.
So what makes you think that you would be a good fit for conservation?
Couple ways. My continued interest in governance. And two, site development is part of what we do. Staying within those confines, all the utilities that we put in run the site. Part of the pricing that I do always incorporates site review.
Thank you.
On those committees, incredibly insightful, great addition to those committees you mentioned.
Mhm. Anybody else?
I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, it's stealing the time you and Jamie were having together, now the kids are away now. No more extra time reading books and stuff. My apologies on that, but I have a lot of respect for Steve. I've get to know him over the years. He worked on very cool projects over the years. I get to know him. And I thought he's gonna be great, it's what we're asking him to do. And I'm really excited about it. And thank you so much.
All I can say is that knowing Stephen, the way he takes very methodical approach, and he was involved in a lot of the neighborhood discussions with Amazon and Victory. Never emotional, always thinking through very logically, has very specific questions about construction. I believe the Conservation Commission would be of value to that committee to have Stephen on board. So I know we're not voting tonight. We're gonna wait to vote, but I just wanted full endorsement from my point of view.
Same here.
All right. So I don't think we have any more questions. Everyone's impressed with your background and we appreciate it. And we will be letting you know what we take a vote. See, it's sometimes challenging to interview and then call for a vote. Yes, we decided a year ago that we would take this route, interview folks, have conversations like this, and then vote when we concluded our interviews or conversations.
I think it's wise to sit on it a
Be
little bit.
available. I mean,
I think it's wise to sit on it a little bit.
yeah, for sure. All right.
If there's any conversations, Haley has an email address, please reach out. She also has my cell.
Absolutely.
Whatever it takes to ensure you understand and you're satisfied.
Thank you very much.
I'm free to stay the rest of the meeting.
Yeah.
Publicly do.
Thanks,
Mr.
Steve.
Cupfer, long time no see for me anyway. It's nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you all. How's everybody doing?
Your update. So Jim Cupfer, town planner, is going to be providing us with a general update as to what's going on in town and et cetera. So the floor is yours, Jim.
Excellent. Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I thought I would, I appreciate you guys inviting me in to discuss kind of the state of development around town. So thought I could go down the list of kind of active projects that you guys are all well aware of. And I see we have some of the board members there, which is excellent. I have to say this board is a phenomenal professional board that it's extremely busy. And so they're very generous with their time with me and getting through not just the projects that are before the board, but afterwards and following through with them. So it's been a great process working with this board and all the land use boards, both planning. It's great to see zoning board is getting another member potentially, and conservation. We're extremely busy agendas. With that said, active around town, we have a number of housing projects and warehouse projects actively in the construction mode. Down at Bungay Brook, the old golf course, active construction, recently permitted 108 townhome units under construction. And that luckily has some buffering, and and working with Amy Sutherland closely and Tim Icardi, I haven't received too many complaints. And I will say throughout this, if you do have any issues or you hear from your constituents that you have concerns on construction practices, please don't hesitate to reach out to Amy, myself, or Tim, and we're fairly quick in our responses. Moving along, 206 Mechanic Street, that's the warehouse that was permitted. at the corner of Mechanic Street and Maple Street. The last we've discussed with that developer, their intent was always to start this spring, and actively working with DOT for the extensions to the turning lane on Maple Street. So we did the intersection over a few years back, and those turning lanes were cut short, and now with this development coming in, it was deemed very necessary to extend the turn lane. So they're before DOT for review. I believe they have engaged with former director Di Martino and now Director Rydell to finalize those designs. Beyond that, as we know, just up Maple Street, where the Amazon campus, there's also the smaller building, relatively speaking, got an expansion of 58,000 square feet, and that's still waiting on construction. Let's see, moving to the west on Depot Street, recently permitted and begin clearing across the street from our property is a 201,000 square foot warehouse. They recently got some modifications to their drainage and the board did some enhancements with landscaping and actually got a nice parcel in front of it to preserve for future stormwater and MS4 compliance that we'll be working with DPW closely on. I should note for all those three warehouses that I just noted, 206 Mechanic Street, 353 Maple Street, and 152 Depot Street, the planning board got mitigation for ways in which to clean the corridors of those heavy traffic sites, and so there will be a program hopefully established soon for that clean initiative that I know a lot of people were interested in get going. Let's see, moving along into some other housing initiatives. So the Curtis Apartments obviously is rapidly increasing their development. Just got off the phone with them earlier today on a number of different things. They are very excited, and I don't think could be more happy on how it's been going and eager to work with the town again. So that's been moving right along. Let's see, Bellingham Shores, obviously in the center of town. That subdivision's moving right along. They just came in for their inclusionary housing special permit. So you might have heard from some constituents wondering what that is. Didn't we already get a development permitted? We did talk with a couple of neighbors. I think everyone is understanding now that that's part of the requirements to make sure that we have our appropriate number of affordable housing units within the site, and that developer has been moving right along and has been working with town staff to make sure that they meet all the requirements. Let's see, moving on. There's a number of items that are currently in front of the boards, our various land use boards. We have, as you all know, WS Development is before the planning board right now for what could be up to 700,000 square foot warehouse behind Home Depot. And obviously that goes hand in hand with all the improvements that we're working towards on Hartford Avenue, the widening and the acquisition to better that corridor to not just accommodate for any future development, but also really to help what's there today. Red Mill on the Charles was permitted and just completed their pre-construction meeting. So that's a residential development essentially behind Town Hall that would connect the center of town to essentially come out where the Curtis Apartments is today, and why that light was a big discussion a few years back. But that will be a great addition to the town center, support the local businesses. And I should note that with the Red Mill on the Charles, with the Curtis Apartments, and with Bellingham Shores all the way in the center of town, we've been working closely with the state, with DPW, and we put together a pretty nice master plan that will connect for both walking, biking, and an automobile a nice connection that goes all the way from, you could get from Bellingham Shores, so Silver Lake, all the way to essentially a loop to Forge Park by bike if you so chose. Others in front of the board, a small 6-lot subdivision off of Lake Street that meets all the by right regulations, a 6-lot single family development, and a fairly sizable 36-unit townhome development being proposed on a lot at North Street and Blackstone Street that I know we've gotten a number of calls on, and certainly welcome any questions regarding that from any of your constituents who want to learn more and what the board is doing and where it's going. That is development that's currently active and ongoing. As I mentioned at the last meeting that I was present for, we also are discussing how to proceed with the MBTA legislation that requires additional housing, and we'll certainly be working on that in the coming months. So with that, I'm happy to answer any and all questions.
Hey, Jim, great. Thank you very much. And just to say that we do have our community established for the MBTA piece, and we'll be organizing a meeting in early to mid-April to get that group together. I do have a question regarding all this development, especially with the housing. Could you speak to wastewater? I'm just curious if we're going to have enough capacity for Woonsocket and Medway, or is this a mix of like Low versus Red Mill? Is it going to be sewer or is it going to be septic? Could you talk to that a little bit?
I can talk to it a little bit. Obviously,
Yeah.
Director Fidel is better informed on that, but
Sure.
But what I do know is the current development that has been approved has gone through MEPA approval and has discussed with the Charles River Pollution Control Center on capacity. It's certainly a question though for future development and whether or not there will be future capacity on the northern end of town. Obviously on the south end of town, we deal with Woonsocket and to my understanding have plenty of capacity in that area.
There's just that question you hear out there in the north end of town where Circle C is. We've heard different development ideas, and if we really don't have the capacity, over to Charles River, which is the Medway, that kind of limits what can be developed there as far as single family homes. It might be difficult, or duplexes, townhomes. It might be a space for, which I hate to say, another warehouse, because they're not a big drain on wastewater, are they? I don't believe they are. So.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, different uses to take up different quantities, and you're right. The industrials tend to be less of a usage, but you're right. That could be a limiting factor moving forward in the northern end of town.
Yeah, right. Are there any questions from the board for Jim?
No, it's been working out extremely well. I know planning board is very pleased with Jim's participation at their meetings. I have regular conversations with him, and it's been working out quite well.
The hybrid remote work is not seeming to be an issue. Good. Anything else? Any comments? Bill,
It's a great relationship. We're lucky to have them. And I think it's money well spent.
All right, Jim, we're gonna let you go 10 minutes early. How's that?
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great
All
night.
right, thanks. You have a nice
Please don't
evening.
hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. All right, we're 10 minutes ahead. Great. Depot Street Building Committee General Update. Who will be providing that?
Tim's gonna be
Tim?
leading that, and
Yeah.
of course, I am on that committee along with Kelly, and we've had quite a few meetings, and we're getting to that point where we've got an article on the warrant. We're gonna be talking about money, but before we talk about money, we want to hear what you where we're at as far as what the facility looks like. We've had some great participation. Joe Calamati and Roland Lavalley have been great resources on that committee. And I think it's gone extremely well.
Good evening. So several of you know what's going on already, but so just to bring you an update, we have a lot of new information with the DPW proposal. We do have some slides that will give you kind of a bird's eye view of what it's gonna look like. So this is just a small basement area that's proposed. The rest of it is a slab construction. So this is the elevation. This is pretty much a final elevation of the way it's gonna look. This is facing the rear of the building. This is the rear of the building. With these are skylights. These are like prismatic panels. They let in a lot of natural light. So there's a big emphasis on natural light to reduce the costs of utilities. So that lets in an enormous amount of light into the area, and you'll see in the next few slides that where
So that faces east.
that actually faces northeast. Yeah. So the road is Depot Street is here.
Mhm.
And the original entrance is coming in here. It's pretty close to where the entrance is now. And this area is where the building sits right here is pretty much the lot line with the adjacent lot to the right, if you're facing it from Depot Street. Out here, the parking area, obviously in the front and on to the rear of the building, which is in between the existing building that's already on site.
And that's for residents who will be coming to visit as opposed to employees who park elsewhere.
So we did connect, can you just go back to
Sure.
that slide really quick? So at one point we had talked about, having a drive-through window. We ixnayed that, because really the only thing now that people would come into the DPW for is if they need trash bags. It really wasn't worth the expense of having to put that in and figure out if we had enough square feet to run the driveway all the way around the building. It was just adding so many more elements of problems than it would actually solve, especially when we figured there's other places we can sell the DPW trash bags as well. So,
It just got to be too complicated.
yeah.
For what it was worth. Yeah. So that got X. I mean, we've been meeting for 6 months on this. And we've narrowed it, we've got to a point where we've narrowed it down to a size that is adequate for what they have and with a very little bit of expansion, but there is a little bit of movement in there, but not a lot of, expansion. We do have expansion room on the campus. If down the road, we need to expand, add people to this facility. So, but there is room for that, but this is pretty much figured for a small percentage above what we have now. So it's pretty slim as far as the the ask for it. There's not a lot of frills, but so I'll take you through. These are some of the materials that that will be used, types of materials. This wood material here may be a on the entrance of the building. There's a where you approach. There's a small little porch area that you go on, and this is like this is a feature that would be, kind of a decorative feature, but small, but near the entrance, a little contrast to the steel wall. The walls are all steel, they're corrugated steel, in color. So this would be just they put that in as a contrast, so it just jazzes it up a little bit, and it's a very small area. Again, the architects take what we ask for and what our needs, and they take it and they always, I think, want to put a spin on it where they want to. I'm not going to call it a trophy, but they want to design it the way they would design it. So we've over the months we've reined it in, to try to make it as economical as possible. I think So this right here, so this is the north side with the prismatic panels. It's a metal roof, so this line that's on here, what that is that's just an ice guard, so ice doesn't fall off and because there is a walkway here where the parking is here, so it keeps the ice in danger. Yeah, but that's all that detail is, and you can see in this corner, that's the entrance door right here in the corner right here, and that contrasting wood would go in that little cove. That's what that's. This is a pretty modest building. This is only 30, right around 3,600 square feet. So it may look like, I don't know if it looks to you like it's large, but it's not. But it's more than adequate for what they need, and it's a much needed improvement for that department. So here that is the same. So this is the inside. This is an elevation, a cut through of the interior of the building. This area that you're looking at with the high ceiling, that's the whole office area. And all of the personnel will be sitting in that area as far as the office personnel, GIS. And if you look through that space to the back wall, looking right through that elevation, there's two offices in the back. And one of them is for the DPW director and the assistant. And to the left, this little mono pitch roof right here, as it's called, that's the meeting room. So that would be bid openings and meetings, that they have at various times.
And the idea was to put like cubicles here on the side where all the windows are too, so that everyone who's working in the building will get a lot of natural light as well. Because originally the architects had it flipped.
Yeah.
And we all were kind of like, we want cubicles all, like, who wants to be sitting in a cubicle that's all the way in the dark? Like, I want to put those by the windows.
So you notice the top, the very peak up here, that's the prismatic panels.
Yeah.
And those shine down and they light up the whole area. So then in the conference room also doubles as a break room. So that there is a little kitchenette on that you can see through. Yeah, that wall right there is a small kitchen counter, a sink, and a refrigerator. So, let's see, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot to it, but it's very, it's gonna serve the needs that they have at this point.
It'd basically be the office personnel. For the most part, the DPW employees will not be going into this building other than on occasion to work out a payroll issue or meet with a foreman or something like that. Our goal was to keep it under $2 million, 36, is it 3,600 or is it 3,000? I thought it was 3,000. 3,000.
Well, we just decided, we don't even have a scale drawing yet. We're gonna have it, but I think it's
3,000.
but it's just over that.
Yeah, it's incredible what it costs municipalities with
Yeah.
prevailing wages. We wanted to have a full basement. We had to scale it back. There were a lot of, we didn't really have that great of a need for a basement of that size. The question was asked, well, what would you keep there?
Right.
And, I don't know. Stuff. So it still has a basement.
Yeah.
It still has a good sized basement.
Yeah.
It's a fairly basic building. The architect's estimate right now is about $1.9 million, but that's without the stormwater, which obviously they're estimating, the furnishings, which are basically the cubicles that you saw there, not a whole lot. So the number's probably going to be up around $2.5 million due to cost of construction and just the fact that it's a prevailing wage job. I'm sure that you could ask Mr. Colo what a 3,000 square foot steel building in the public sector would be, as opposed to a municipality, it'd probably be half of that cost. Tim said he'd love to build it himself. But unfortunately, there are just things that we have to do.
Right.
One of the requirements that we have is we have to hire what's known as an OPM for any project with an original estimate over 1.5 million. The architect's estimate was 1.5 million. And it's expensive because essentially you're hiring someone and they have to come on board from the time you hired as you're recruiting the architect until the project's finished. Under 1.5, you don't have to, you can designate somebody, and Tim met all the qualifications and he's our OPM, and that has saved us a considerable amount of money in not having to hire someone in that role. And the project will be going for site plan review, Tim, before the planning board.
It'll be, it's gonna go in front of the planning board.
Already got an approved plan.
So the site itself was already pre-approved, back in the night.
Yeah, these pads were approved in 2003 where this building's going.
So the septic, so the septic system, all the drainage was all constructed, all signed off. The planning board had approved 2 buildings on site. There's another building located right here, to the north. right here in the back. There was a proposed building that was all approved for future, and then the other building where we're putting the DPW office site was proposed for the front. It was all approved, it was all plumbed, the septic is all installed, which is nice for us. Because it's all HD20 loading,
Yeah.
and we can put our parking lot on it, and it was done, inspected, and they did it, the previous owner did it to expand his business, and he just never did. So he went in for one site plan, got it all done, but we want to bring it in front of the planning board and show them what's going on and how it's going to be used, you know, for the new parking lot and our basic business versus it was approved for a construction company.
I'm sure it's an easy answer, but if we wanted a bigger basement, why don't we dig it ourselves since we have the equipment?
Oh, we went around.
Really, we don't have that equipment, and it's not just the digging, it's the forms and everything else. So what we can do, we would do, but the costs aren't just the digging, is the.
So I can tell you this, look, I wanted a full basement.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when we just ended up deciding this like last month, so we had the architects figure the basement versus a slab. And I wouldn't let go of all the basement. I wanted some basement, so I got that small amount, but the difference in the cost was almost $300,000 to have a full basement
Versus.
or a slab.
Because there are structural things.
Well, so the floor would have to be framed. I mean, yeah, there's some footings. It's not a big building, so it's not a huge undertaking, but that was the number. And, you know, the numbers are the numbers, so.
We really couldn't identify what the need was, other than it'd be nice to have all that storage, but what would we be storing there? For the most part, the DPW now, everything's in the cloud. They have as little paper there as possible. There are some files that will be down there that we'll have room for. And the buildings that the garage buildings will store everything that we need.
They didn't need,
supplies
the
go.
DPW had no need for additional storage.
Yeah.
My thought was, you know, the whole town, you know, as a whole, different departments have a lot of, because we're always moving stuff around, but, you know, what are we moving around? We're moving around junk and storing it and letting it, so it was kind of, you know, this is a project that we're trying to get in, you know, at a modest price, and it was kind of a large trade-off, so it was quite a lot of that, you know.
And there is interior access to the basement.
There is. So you come in the back on that north side, and there was a bulkhead. We just eliminated the bulkhead on the last, on the last meeting. On that last meeting we had, right here.
Yeah.
We did, they had an elaborate entrance for the basement, and we got rid of that. It was a lot of money saved, and then I said, look, let's just do a residential type bulkhead, so we can access it. The guys can go in there instead of dragging it into the building. It ended up the size of the basement. We turned the stairway, and we just, right when you come in the back door there, you can go right down the stairs or go into the offices. So it worked better, and we saved, getting rid of that was, they told us $35,000, so we got rid of that too. It also frees up a parking space there. So, you know, that was kind of an easy trade-off. So that's where we're at. The basement is, I don't think the basement is more than 300 square feet.
1 year.
Yeah, it's a kind of an L, but you know what, we can store some stuff, we can put some shelving down there, we do need a little bit of space for mechanical.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, the slab saved a ton of money on paper, so.
So you looked at whether you put solar on a roof like that.
And it's possible down the road, sure. Yeah.
It's easy to do it as part of the project.
No, not really, no, because it's kind of a whole separate thing. We were thinking maybe some solar on the warehouse, the buildings next door maybe would be, you know, yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe down the road, we could explore that and probably power most of it, you know, with the solar. So that's an option down the road. As far as the mechanical for this building, most of it's going to be electric. It's going to be heat pumps. So it is going to take up some electricity, but it's all high efficient stuff. And, you know, down the road, the solar could be a pretty good option for it. So.
I mean, the great thing about this is, you know, everyone's got costs in their mind, and so everyone's doing everything they can to keep the cost at a minimum, but what I love about this, and especially after the last meeting, I remember texting Cindy and being like, I can't wait until you see the pictures, because given what everyone has been working in for years and years and years, this new building does not feel institutionalized. It feels, when you're looking at the pictures and looking at some of the finishes that you can pick from the, floors and some of the colors you can do, it really, to me, seems like warm and bright and a place I want to sit in and do hard work, because all the staff over at the DPW offices work their tails off. So it's nice that we have this for them as well, and we need it. So I am really excited about it, because I just think it's gonna be awesome.
The nice thing is, if you look at that cutaway of the elevation, like you said, see how high it is, it'd be very comfortable to work in, because
Yes.
it's airy, it's gonna be now natural light, so it will be definitely, I'm sure they'll love it once they get in there.
Yeah.
Just because it's, there's gonna be a lot more air movement, it's not, obviously where they are is, you can't even compare it, but for this size space, I mean, if you think about it, this is no bigger than some of the houses that are, this is a little bit bigger than some of the houses that, up the street that are being constructed right now. It's only 3,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It's basically wide open space.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Pretty much using every bit of it. So,
Why don't we just put a Quonset hut there? I'm only kidding. Anything
I hope
else?
they're moving out.
I know. Anything else?
No, I think, that's,
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Other business, annual appointments for positions on the various boards and committees. Dennis, do you want to start with yours? Would you like me to start with the Board of Selectmen's appointments?
You want me to do mine first?
Sure, go ahead. Do yours first.
Our administrative.
Hold on one second. I think we have an alarm going off on a car. Is it yours?
No,
That's mine, I just.
You're up front.
that's you, son. It's not mine.
All right, your kids are trying to steal your car.
I don't like to keep my keys in my pocket. I don't know why.
All right, Dennis.
All right, our administrative assistant, for the select board, Ally, for 1 year, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything she does for me, and I know the board feels the same way.
Second.
You want me to read them all?
Yeah.
Assistant Animal Control Officers, Gregory Giordano, Michael Taddeo, Samuel Taddeo, Michael Padula, and those are all 1 year. Assistant Town Planner, Zoning Compliance Officer, Amy Sutherland, 1 year, and Amy's been doing a great job with that transition as we reestablish that office down. The Emergency Management Agency Director, Chris Milo, was our Deputy Fire Chief and does a great job with that as well. Assistant Building Inspectors, Stephen Johnson and John Erickson, those are both 1 year. Inspector of Plumbing and Gas, Roger Gabry, 1 year. Assistant Inspectors for Plumbing and Gas, Barry Idarola, Francis Sebio, and Mike McEwen, each 1 year. Inspector of Wires, William Clinton. Assistant Inspector, Joseph Scansaroli. Inspector of Weights and Measures, Richard Orpin. Veterans Agent, Anna Milo, and Workers' Comp Agent, Beth Cornell Smith, and those were all 1 year.
You have a
Second.
first or second, any question? Dennis?
Oh, hang on. No, sorry. So moved.
Yes.
There's a first, there's a second.
There we go.
Any discussion or questions? No, any comment? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thanks, Dennis. The next, I'm going to read off the Board of Selectmen appointments. Norfolk County Advisory Board, Nick Mobilia, 1 year, 1 year term. The Board of Health, Michael Hennessy, but we're going to pass. I'm going to recommend passing until, since Michael Hennessy is running for the Select Board. We'll pass and he'll stay on as a Board of Health agent until, because he's running for Select Board, he may be elected. He wouldn't be able to serve on the Board of Health if he's elected to the Select Board. Board of Registrars, Maria Nyren.
So he will continue to serve.
He will
obviously.
continue to
Yeah,
serve
right.
what it said,
Yeah.
but, you know,
For
he,
the election?
after the election, and then if he's elected, then he will not be able to serve on the Board of Health. If he's not elected, he can continue, and his appointment would then be ratified at that point.
Yeah, I knew that's what you meant. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make
Yep,
sure that.
exactly. Yeah, it's just not, the timing's just off for him, that's
Yep.
all. Board of Registrars, Maria Nyren, 3 years. Cemetery Committee, James Howie, 3 years. Conservation Commission, Neil Stanley, incumbent, 3 years. It was an open seat that Mr. Kohler had interviewed this evening for. Council on Aging, SUNY Roberts, 3 years. Brenda Griffin, 3 years. Commission on Disability is an open seat. We don't have anybody for that position. Historical Commission, Stephen Joannis, incumbent. Rick Marcoux, incumbent. Jennifer Russo and Jeff Prescott, who we interviewed earlier. Both of those are 1 year. Planning Board Associate Member Robert Lucier, incumbent, 3 years. Board of Tax Assessors Grace Devitt, incumbent, 3 years. And Town Common Trustees Barbara Ellsroth, incumbent, 3 years. And next meeting, we will finish up on the zoning board of appeals alternate member at the next meeting.
Do they have to be here for that, or just, we're gonna just, if it's not the case, then just, we can just,
Yeah, they don't have to be here.
okay.
So those are the
I wanna make
selection appointments. We need a first and a second.
Mr. Chair, might I add just one thing?
Sure.
So Capital Improvement Committee is not on here. Currently, I serve that position. I will be giving up that seat pending the election.
Sure.
So basically, I will serve until the election, which makes sense. And then at that point, I will step away from that board. It will be an open seat, and it will be up to this board to appoint a new member of the Board of Selectmen to that seat.
And I think
after the
we'll continue
election.
to do that in June, so that it actually works out with the town meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. So the capital improvements committee, what, like you have a question about it?
No, I'm just,
There's a member of the select board sits on that committee, Kelly's on it now. And we're just gonna keep that as it is and not do the point until after. So, with the positions that I read off, we need a first and a second and a vote.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second. We have a first and a second discussion.
Just clarify if anyone doesn't live in town.
Yes,
Neil Stanley.
Neil Stanley.
Neil Stanley, and also, the gentleman, Mr. Johannes on the.
Yeah, he lives in.
Historical.
I would ask that both of those be held and voted separately.
Discussion.
because they don't live in town.
I don't vote for anyone. that
Yeah, I know,
doesn't live in
that's why I'm just making
Yeah.
it clear, yeah. So do they have to come in and interview again, or?
No.
No, he just wants it as a
town.
separate
Just
vote.
separates the vote.
Okay.
I don't want to be voting against all of these people as a
Right.
block.
I understand what you're saying.
Makes sense, that's why I wanna make sure it's all clear that.
So the recommendation from Mr. Connor is not to vote for the out of town with the list here. So the motion is gonna have to be except for Mr. Stanley Conservation Commission and Mr. Joannis for Historical Commission. So that's the motion. Do we have a first?
First,
Cindy,
Well, Michael.
we'll
changed
redo
the
it for
vote.
Michael. Second, we have a
Second.
second, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. So now we need a vote individually. Do we can put both of them together?
Yep.
Are we okay with that? Okay. So now I need a vote, a motion to appoint Mr. Stanley to the Conservation Commission and Mr. Joannis to the Historical Commission.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second.
For a second, the only discussion I would say is that as Mr. Joannis is, you know, he's the incumbent, and I know, do we look at him as the 1 year, or do we just keep it as the 3 year?
I mean,
Folks, you know what I'm saying?
Didn't we do last step?
He's been on forever. hasn't he?
he's,
I
he,
think this is his second or.
this is his second appointment, and I think they're,
Pretty happy.
Mhm.
Okay, then forget that. I would just leave it as is.
okay.
Okay,
I would just, for the record, I just don't understand why someone, if they want to be on their various committees, they don't do it in their own towns.
their own town might not have a historical, well, historical commission, he might have
When
some
he,
connection
yeah,
here.
when he interviewed, didn't his, he had a family connection in Bellingham,
That
if I
would be
recall.
before me, I think, so.
If I recall, his in-laws.
There was family here, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah,
and
his
he had
wife
a-
grew
a
up here in
bond to
Bellingham.
Yeah. So we have a first, on those two,
I did.
Kelly, and a second.
Mhm.
Mrs. McNulty. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, signify by voting yay, nay, saying yay, all vote, whatever, I'm confused now. I'm tied right now. I have a vote. Yay, all opposed? Michael, so we have 4-1. Thank you. All right. So now. Sign the annual, the warrant. While we're doing that, you just have to sign the town meeting warrant.
This one.
No, just one. It's gonna be posted tomorrow, but it's
Any old business? Or doing this? Any new business?
Josie, are you with us?
I am. I've got new business.
There you go.
I've been listening to all your business.
Here, but
All-
Josie, okay.
There's a lot of business going on in Bellingham.
Yeah.
So something that has come up is we would like the town to sponsor a Pride Fest on June 24th from 2 to 6 p.m. at the Common, at the Town Common. We actually got plans rolling and we have a committee formed, and I was unaware of the order of things in town. We've booked the Common. We've got the $1,350 of sponsorship so far that were barely solicited. Just people hearing about us wanting to do this, and yeah, so we were hoping to get it as a town sponsored event so that we can set up a GL, general ledger account, so we can accept the funds coming in, and maybe a little background on how this idea came about. The Office of Elder Affairs had all of us in who receive any sort of government funding, state funding from the Office of Elder Affairs. All of the volunteers and staff had to go through a training on LGBTQ issues in the aging world. And from that stemmed, different council on aging started doing rainbow cafes, a safe place for elders who are part of the community to go and be with others. It's not like these folks are going out to bars to meet people. And the history of that community, the history of my community is elders that are living in as LGBTQIA plus people have lived in the closet for a very long time, and they've dealt with trauma over the years with regards to their affiliation with this community. So it stemmed, it was an idea from the Rainbow Cafe group that they're like, oh, what if we did this? And Cindy was actually part of that group, and her daughter, and we have some high school students that are part of it who got very excited about it, and here we are. So I'm asking the board to vote on having this be a town sponsored event.
I think it's one of the significant things that it does is it allows the town to accept funds, put them in a gift fund that can be used for this program. So they'll be having tables and different things, vendors there, and those vendors pay a small fee, much like with the 300th anniversary and other events that we have. So we can go into a gift fund and then it can apply for that.
Are you looking for any funding from the town, or is this, are you going to raise funding for it? So, because you asking for that too, Josie?
So, no, I think we're gonna be good.
Okay.
The only, I would like for the town maybe to support us with some police detail that day, because parking would be across the street behind the Dairy Queen.
Mhm.
That would really be, the police detail would be really the only expense to the town that we're asking the town to incur. We actually have a portion of a grant that was designated towards this as well. And it was a grant, actually, Sahan, you came to one of the events that is sponsored by that grant.
Yep.
We got a grant to be the talk of the town, for the Bellingham Senior Center to be the talk of the town. And part of it was, and the way we wrote the grant is that we wanted people from all communities to feel welcome at the senior center. So we are traveling to 6 different countries in our dining room at the senior center. And
Right.
last week we went to Turkey and Sahan
Pretty cool,
came. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So part of that grant was to also help sponsor a Pride Fest. So we have $1,000 from that grant that's going towards the Pride Fest. And like I said, we've already collected $1,350 in sponsorship money. The only big expense we have right now that we've asked MyFM to DJ the event, and they'll also promote it. So some of the money that we've collected and some of the grant money will go towards paying them.
The cool thing too is a couple of the people that are on the committee that were at the Rainbow Cafe were actually were they part of the folks that worked on the Franklin one, or they had some action? So they had all of the sort of nuts and bolts of how to pull this together and what to focus in on. And Josie and I are partnering with Devlin, so they're gonna do a drag brunch to kick it off. Well, literally be across the street, and they've had some traction with doing not brunches. I think they're doing one in March, but prior to that, they've done drag shows, and just a fun way to kind of kick off the whole day's worth of events right across the street. And talked with Dennis about helping us with the police details, because we're hoping a lot of people come, right, Josie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that's great is they've also pulled in the high school kids. So it's not just elders that are involved in the planning, so.
Yeah, the high school kids made the logo, the art
Yeah.
club made the logo, and Jen Altamonte is on the committee, and she's put together a Facebook page. The motto is Be You Bellingham, capital YOU, Be You Bellingham.
We need a motion to sponsor.
We can, we don't necessarily always do.
Okay.
If
I
you'd
just
like to,
asking
you can.
what's the right
I know
thing to do
that,
there.
Cindy, so it would certainly be appropriate if you'd like to do that, but, you know, for instance, when we do the carnival in August, we don't necessarily have a motion, but we bring it to the board. But I think it's probably a good idea just to say that the board is,
Yeah.
Support,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the motion will include that, you know, that will fund the police detail as well.
Yep.
Well, make a motion that we support the Bellingham Pride Fest, or the BU Bellingham Day. What's the official title?
It is the Pride Fest, Bellingham Pride Fest.
We'll go with Pride Fest.
Yep.
And the date again?
June
June 24th, Saturday, June 24th, from 2 to 6 p.m. at the Town Common.
Excellent.
Second,
And the motion needs to also say that we're gonna take care of
Police
the
detail?
That's good, yes.
Sure.
Did you
first.
get all that?
I did.
Sorry.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? No? Call for a vote. All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Josie.
Thanks, Josie.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Dennis, your town
Yeah,
administrator.
a few things. I did send out some last minute notes this afternoon with regard to our aggregation program. I know Kelly and I had a conversation about it. National Grid has announced that their summer rate is going to be dropping to 14 cents per kilowatt hour for the generation portion of your electric bill. They were at 34 cents they bid it out every 6 months for the winter rate. The town's rate is 20 cents, 24 cents. As you know, we adopted legislation that was enacted, I think in 2014, and we adopted it a short time after that, went through a process. with the Department of Public Utilities and put together our own program and we bid it out. This last time we only bid it out for 1 year because the rates were so high with all the uncertainty. Really, it's the issues that are ongoing, the war in Ukraine that's interfering with, with the energy market. So the town's program, people can opt out at any time. If the question is asked, gee, I want to go back to the national grid rate, it's 14 cents as opposed to 20, I can save a little money there. It's all on the website. It's not difficult to do. The only thing people need to keep in mind in December, the town's rate is going to drop back down to just below 14 cents. We can officially say that now as we've locked that in. So it's a little under 4, it'd be 13.8, I think is what our rate's going to be come December. That's locked in for 2 years. National Grid will be going up in the winter. In the winter, they're higher. In the summer, they're lower. If you look at the annual average, the town for the 1 year period, calendar year 2023 will be 20.4 cents. National Grid will be 24 cents. So, they're cheaper in the summer, more expensive in the winter. The issue is when you go to come back to the town's plan or any plan, you can go online and just search electricity suppliers in Massachusetts, and there's a chart there, and you can look it over and which one do I want to go with and how many months do I want. It's a little bit of risk management, whether I do 36 months or 12 months. But the point is, it usually takes 2 to 3 months to get into one of those plans. So if you opt out of the town's program and go with National Grid, December comes around and you say, gee, National Grid's up to 20 cents. I want to get back into the town's plan. It might take a couple of months to get back in. So if you surf like credit card surfing, you could get caught. But I would imagine there may be some questions because there's been such huge swings in the rates. But that's the explanation on it. I just felt the need that the board to be up to speed. If you're asked, hey, National Grid's down to 14 cents. Yeah, but over the calendar year, the town's rate was cheaper if you look at the town's rate. And if you're so inclined, you can just go ahead and opt out of the town's plan. You're certainly not locked in. Whereas some plans, not the utilities, but if you went just online, did a search for electric suppliers and decided, oh, Constellation's got a plan that's 24 months and it's 14 cents or 18 cents, whatever it is. Actually, right now, the 24-month plans are running 18 cents. You can't opt out without penalty. So there's a penalty involved in that. So that's all that I had. One other issue, I know there was a lot of conversation about some of the playgrounds in town on the one of the social media websites, and they said a lot of disparaging things about the playgrounds in town, broken tree limbs, broken fencing. They said that the one person had a comment that the playground in the town common was disgusting, and we went playground by playground. We used every single one, myself and the DPW director, now the director, assistant director, then last fall, and came up with a program for replacement of different apparatus, which will be happening soon. But I went out and visited those playgrounds this afternoon, and I can tell you there are no broken tree limbs, there are no broken equipment. There's no graffiti on any of that equipment there. I went to the town common. I went to the Macy playground, and you can do the same. I went to the one at Frog Park, which we have had problems with by the middle school. And there were 2 pieces of fencing at the Frog Park. One of the comments was the fencing's all broken. 2 minor things that need to be corrected there. But, I think it's an airing of past grievances because we have had graffiti issues and we have had broken apparatus issues over the years. But right now, they're all in good shape, and I just did a quick visit to those 3.
And I agree with you, but I think the tone of it, because I read through it all and read all the comments, I even commented myself. One individual direct messaged me and said, listen, if there's something you'd like to do about it, be positive, come to the select board meeting, speak to us, or, form a committee, so, I'm going to call them out a little bit, but I have brought up in the past, and there were never comments about going over to Medway, Choate Park, and the one on Oakland Street. And I know, in the notes, I brought this up. I would like to see a much larger playground at the middle school, things a little more modern. And I'd also like to see a larger playground at the town common, because the town common playground So it's nice, it's small, and really only serves infants and small toddlers. It's small. So if you have children that are in the third, fourth, or fifth grade, the apparatus that's there just isn't adequate enough. And so, again, it's an area for us to, the town to congregate. It's beautiful. I'd like to see a larger, and I brought this up to Larry
And
Spizano
it's
as
supportive
well.
of that.
And I have brought it up to him, and he said that he would look into it. So for the folks out there, it's something we want to do as a town. It's how are we going to fund it? There's also this other alternative that's going on in Stalbrook. There's funding underway for that, for, an immersion, I believe they call it playground, but they're a long ways away from raising $250,000 for an appropriate playground. Playgrounds aren't cheap, because Dennis knows, I've sent him plenty of photographs in my travels when I come across a really nice playground. We start looking at these are easy $150,000 to $200,000 playgrounds or more. Just to get up to date with the most, common playground equipment. I mean, they're very expensive. We all want to do it. It's just where we're gonna get the funding for it.
Sure, it's just, it's two separate issues, and I
Yeah.
wanted to assure the board that the playgrounds that we have are well kept, and they're, one of the things that we did last fall, which I know caught a lot of people's eyes. A lot of the equipment, that's going to be replaced, we took it out last fall, because some of it was getting in rusty shape. So if you go to the High Street Ball Field, you'll notice there's no swings there, but there are swings coming, they're going to be installed. Unfortunately, they're a little delayed, we're hoping to get them in April, maybe late May before they're in, but the benches and the picnic tables that we're getting, which are the metal ones and foundations, will be put back in. So as you know, town meeting appropriated, I think, $47,000 in November for all of that. So that'll be happening. And I think the board's aware the Lobosur project actually includes $80,000 for playground upgrades. So eventually we'll be getting those funds in as well.
Great, thanks.
That's all right.
I appreciate you going and looking at all the playgrounds.
There was a question about a big tree that fell at Macy.
There was, I was there this afternoon and there was no sign of, as far as the
That was the
playground
playground,
goes,
by the ball field.
I didn't notice it. I did look at the ball field. I looked at all the fencing.
Someone sent me,
But,
my brother-in-law sent me a picture of it. but-
Yeah, unless it's, but the playground was fine, and as I say, I looked at the ball field itself, I didn't see any trees down, but if I missed it, I'll ask the parks to go back there and take a look at it, something at one of the Little League field, their former Little League field,
Yeah.
yeah, we can certainly take a look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any question, anything else?
That's all.
That's all. Anybody else have anything before we adjourn? All right, seeing that we have satisfied our agenda for the evening, I call for vote to close meeting. First, second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Well, motion carries. Everyone have a good night. Thank you very much for attending.